We've all heard the story of David and Goliath. On one side we have David, a little shepherd boy with only a sling and a couple of stones. And on the other side we have Goliath, a 9'9" giant wielding a sword, shield, and a spear. All of this while wearing armor. Needless to say, he has the upper hand. If you had to bet on one of these two people, which one would you choose? Well, most people who haven't heard the ending would most likely go with Goliath. And honestly, can you blame them? I mean, he has such a big upper hand, and I don't just mean his actual hand. He has such an advantage when fighting against this little David that it seems almost impossible for David to beat him. Long story short, David calls upon God and is able to use his sling, swing it around his head, and absolutely yeet that rock towards Goliath's noggin. I say Goliath, you say is dead. Goliath! Goliath! Thanks to the random person who did that, I respect you immensely. David's upset has stood as one of the greatest underdog stories of all time. However, Malcomn Gladwell's story, David and Goliath, challenges this idea that David was actually the underdog. In fact, it proposes the opposite. Maybe Goliath was the actual underdog. Let's look back to David's weapon, a mere sling. How could a sling kill a 9'9" absolute beast of a man? I'll tell you right now, it's pretty simple. Let's look at a couple of numbers. When in the right hands, slings, although they are simple weapons, can make stones go 34 meters per second, or 76 miles per hour. 76 miles per hour is more than enough to penetrate the human skull. But even with all of this power to back it up, slings can't be very accurate, right? Wrong! Slings are super accurate when in the right hands. An experienced slinger could launch a stone accurately 200 yards. That's 600 feet. And since David was an experienced slinger, this means that he had the capabilities to absolutely yeet a stone 600 feet at 76 miles per hour right into Goliath's head. So now you can see that David actually had a very big advantage over Goliath. But Goliath still had all of his different weapons. He still had his sword, he still had his shield, and his spear. All of this too with his armor. So since David has all these advantages, and so does Goliath, does this mean that the playing field is finally even? Well, not quite. In fact, it skews even more in David's favor. See, all of these different things that Goliath has aren't advantages at all. Well, not in the case when your opponent is an agile, experienced slinger. Starting out with his main weapon, the sword, and along with that, his shield. Well, as you can see, a sword can only be used in close combat. Obviously, you can't throw this thing 600 feet, so because of this, David has the upper hand over this, and his weapon is rendered useless. While it might seem that the shield is still helping him, 600 feet away, you're not going to be able to see this stone coming at you, so this too is rendered useless. But even after all of this, Goliath still has one other option. He can still use his spear. Good luck, buddy. Your one attempt 200-foot throw is not going to do anything compared to David. David has a sling that has infinite ammo lying everywhere, and it can go 3 times the speed and 3 times as far as your one throw. Now you may think we're done right now, but I would like to add insult to injury. See, we still have 2 more disadvantages that Goliath faces. Starting out with the first one, his armor. It is estimated that his armor weighs 100 pounds, and as such his mobility is limited. When going against this 600-foot throw, he's not going to be able to move out of the way, making him a sitting duck. Now the second disadvantage is his height. Now it may seem like his height is what is giving him this advantage, but it's actually the opposite. See, the condition that is most likely to cause this height is acromegaly. Now acromegaly makes you really, really tall, but it makes your eyesight very, very poor. If this is the case, his mobility would be limited even more because he can't see. And in addition to this, any attacks that he makes against David are likely to be inaccurate because he can't see. And finally, his eyesight is going to limit his ability to see David's attacks. He's not going to be able to see the stone flying from anywhere. And as such, he's going to be a blind sitting duck. So I'll ask you one more time. Who would you put your money on? an agile and experienced slinger capable of hurling a stone 76 miles an hour, instantly killing the enemy, or on the other hand, a blind sitting duck with no way to defend himself and no way to attack the enemy. I think the choice is pretty clear. We would all go for David. He has such an upper hand, and after calling upon God, he has an even bigger upper hand. The book then goes on to teach us about real-life underdog stories and how the things we see as advantages are sometimes disadvantages and vice versa. It talks about college students and basketball players and even military leaders, using this same principle of advantages and disadvantages. Malcomn Gladwell's David and Goliath is an amazing story capable of teaching each and every one of us how to conquer our greatest foes.